Hey, what is up, guys? It is Chris here. This is my introduction video to the VC, the metal community, the collecting music community type ordeal here. So before I show these 10 CDs off that I have here to start off the channel, let me just give a little information about myself, how I got into metal, basically my journey to where that's gotten me to this point. So first off, I've been listening to metal since I was like 6 years old. First band I was introduced to was Avenged Sevenfold, and it was their song Beast and a Harlot off their City of Evil album. That was the very first ever metal song, first ever band I've ever listened to was Avenged Sevenfold. And there are many throughout the years of my young child life after hearing that, the only band I ever listened to, the only band I ever gave any sort of listen to was Avenged Sevenfold, of course. Of course, later on down the road, as I got older and I matured, I started venturing out, listening to other bands. I ended up getting into like the metalcore and deathcore scene there for a while. I was listening to bands like A Day to Remember, Suicide Silence, Whitechapel, those kind of bands. And then I met a friend out of all places, church. His name's Jake, and me and him started talking about metal, and I started telling him what I was listening to, and he kind of looked at me and he was like, "Yo, man, you listen to that emo stuff?" And I was like, "Yeah, what's the big deal?" And he's like, "Bro, you need to check out this," and he slams Megadeth on me and stuff, and I come back to him and I'm just like, "This is trash, dude. The vocals are trash," and all that type of crap, and it wasn't until I met his brother Steven and me and him started talking, and he was like, "Boy, I want you to sit down and give a deep listen to Rust in Peace." And I was like, "All right." And I listened to the remaster version, and I was like, "Dude, I gave an open mind to it. The vocals just suck really bad." And I could just see the triggering on Steven's face at the time, and he's like, "Boy, just give it a couple of listens. Don't just give it one listen and then put it away." He's like, "Give it a couple of listens." And I'm like, "Okay, fine. I'll give it another listen." And I listened to it about 2 or 3 more times, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm starting to see what this is." And I fell in love with Rust in Peace, and basically that will set the stage for me starting a metal collection and me just getting heavily into metal. Because right after Rust in Peace, I listened to the original and I fell even more in love. Started listening to all of Megadeth's discography. Of course, you have Metallica in there. You have I'm not a huge Slayer fan, not a huge Anthrax fan either, but I listen to them. Testament, Overkill. I'm a big thrash guy. I also like death metal a lot. You're going to see here in this metal collection, I have some progressive metal, I have some technical death metal, I have new wave of thrash, I have like a little bit of everything. Power metal, I don't think I have any power metal in these 10 CDs I'm going to show off, but I do have some power metal in my collection. So it's not just thrash metal, but there's a specific genre of metal that I love the most. Has to be thrash metal. But anyways, that's basically me. That's the kind of metal I like, and that's what you're gonna expect out of this channel. So the first CD I want to show off is Blackwater Park by Opeth. This is progressive death metal at its finest, and it's by Opeth. And here's the thing about Opeth. Their older stuff is amazing, and this falls under their older stuff. Their newer stuff, though, is more of like a rock type of ordeal. Like Sorceress is like a prog rock. Not my kind of thing, but Opeth back in the day with like Blackwater Park, Orchid, Damnation, Still Life, just trying to think things on the top of my head. Albums like that, like they're really brutal albums. But what this album does that the others really, they do, but not as well as this, is that it's brutal, but also it has like those soft points, like very, very good, very perfectly timed soft points. Like it'd just be like a really brutal just riff, and next thing you know, it like goes into like an acoustic type style guitar playing, and then you have the lead singer Michael, who with his beautiful clean vocals going there. But this is all on the Blackwater Park album. This is the booklet edition too, so it's like a book with pictures and lyrics to songs and stuff. But right here you have the main CD. Then right here you're gonna have like a little documentary about the album, which is a really cool documentary. I really did enjoy it. And so the first CD, Blackwater Park by Opeth. So the next one we got here is Beyond Creation, Earthborn Evolution. What the heck is that? Oh, that's my phone screen. I was like, what the heck is that? Like, the phone screen is reflecting off of that. Okay, that's weird. But anyways, this is Beyond Creation, Earthborn Evolution. Very great album. Here's the inside of it right here. Show that off. Show off that beauty. So, Beyond Creation is a technical death metal band. Very, very, very well. They only have 3 studio albums though, so they don't have much of a discography. But in those 3 albums, none of them are bad. They're all great. To me, this is not their best work. I think this is their worst album, but that's not saying it's bad by any means. This is still a great album. You should still pick it up and listen to it. Just compared to their other albums, this one kind of just falls off a little bit. But what makes Beyond Creation such a special band is they have this fretless bass guitar, and it makes these beautiful wall type sounds, and it's just great. But this is Beyond Creation, Earthborn Evolution. If you guys haven't heard about this band, if you guys haven't listened to them, I definitely recommend it. Definitely check those guys out. So the next album we have here, this is a this is an album that probably everyone out in the VC has. This is an album that everyone knows. This is an essential thrash album. Master of Puppets by Metallica. Yeah. Back when Metallica used to be freaking amazing. And my cat's going crazy. Starting a mosh pit in here. But this is Master of Puppets by Metallica. There's not much I can say that you guys already don't know. It's Metallica, man. This is when Metallica was freaking great. This is when they were actually thrash masters and not sellouts and all that. Because, there are 4 albums. You have Damn You Stain, Wrote 'Em All. You have Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets. Then you have Injustice for All. And then the Black Album. I'm 50-50 on the Black Album, whether I want to consider it good or bad. I don't think it's the best, though. And then it just was a downhill slope from there. But number 3, Master of Puppets by Metallica. So next one is from my favorite band. I already talked about them a little bit in the introduction part. This is Endgame by Megadeth. Now, Endgame is a very if you listen through Megadeth's discography, I believe Endgame is probably either the best or the second best modern day Megadeth album there is. The one it's in competition with is Dystopia, their latest released. But Endgame, songs like Dialectic Chaos, This Day We Fight, Bite the Hand, Endgame, Head Crusher, just those songs right there, just pure thrash, pure everything that you want from Megadeth. They really killed it in this album. It's in my top 5 of Megadeth albums of all time. I think it's number 5 on the list, but it's a freaking great album. What more to say about it? Damn You Stain, killed it. I believe, I want to say Chris was a guitarist in here. I could check real quick. Hang on, let me, I believe Chris was the guitarist. I don't want to mess up on this. Pretty sure he was. Yes, Chris was the guitarist in this album, Chris Broderick. And yeah, when you put him as guitarist, you're going to get some very tasty solos and riffs. And Endgame, Megadeth. So next up is another album that probably does not need any introduction. Y'all probably know about it, especially the band doesn't need any introduction. Iron Maiden, Power Slave. Now, there's a story behind this album. So, like I said, when I was maturing and all that type of stuff, let me just show inside before we get into it. That's the inside of it. Beautiful. I love the artwork on that CD right there of a mummified Eddie. I really like the artwork on that. But anyways, as I was saying, Power Slave was the first ever Iron Maiden album I listened to, and it was the first ever old school, well, I wouldn't say first ever. Oh yeah, probably the first ever old school 80s album I ever listened to. I honestly never listened to anything old before this album, and this was probably, I'll say 5 years ago. But I could just remember I used to be heavily into rap and stuff, and my mom hated that. My mom hated the fact that I was into rap. So she was like, I'd rather you listen to that metal music. And I was like, well, I listen to this band and this band. She's like, well, when I was younger, there was this band called Iron Maiden. And how my mom made a mistake by introducing me to this, because I loved it. I loved every second about this album. And then, of course, I grew a huge love for the rest of Iron Maiden, their discography, and all that type of stuff, and created me into a metalhead that I am today. And my mom regretted that. She was very vocal about it. When I told her that I'm going to go to a concert, she started freaking out. She started like, you ain't going to no concert. I missed that about my mom. But yeah, she used to be hard on me about that. But she's the one who got me into Maiden, so it's her fault. So, but the next album on the list is a new wave, a thrash band. I haven't showed off one of those yet, and that is Evil Enter the Grave. Now, I like to so if I had to compare Evil to a old school thrash band, it has to be early Metallica. This right here, Evil is just a great thrash metal band. I don't think they produced one bad album yet. They have 4 albums. They're coming out with a 5th one this year, and I am excited for it. Here's the inside of it, right there. But yeah, this is their first album, their first studio album. Came out on the Earache Records, and this album's just everything that you want from a thrash album. And it's, if you're one of those people who don't like the vocals that a lot of thrash bands have or death metal bands have, old Drake uses a little bit of a clean voice. He also has a little bit of raspiness in there, but you can definitely understand every word he's saying crystal clear, and he has a really amazing voice. The guitar playing and everything in this album is great. Definitely, if you haven't listened to this album, if you haven't checked it out, do so. It's a must. It's a must listen. Amazing stuff. So the next album that I have here is a classic album. It's by my second favorite band of all time, and it's by the godfathers of death metal, Scream Bloody Gore Death. Arguably the first ever death metal album ever made. And what can you say? This is an amazing album. Now, I will say, I think this is one of Def's not like this album's amazing. Like I love everything about this album, but see, Def's another one of those bands that never made a bad record. All 7 studio albums that they released were all great, were all amazing, and they all had, each one of them were great in their own way as well. And Scream Bloody Gore, it was great in its own way. Like I said, arguably the best, the first death metal album. And you listen to songs like Zombie, Infernal Death, Zombie Ritual, Mutilation, Baptized in Blood, Scream Bloody Gore, Beyond the Holy Grave, Unholy Grave. This album right here, man, freaking awesome. But I think it's I think if you had a list Death's discography, this will come in at number 6. I have a Instagram page that I might link down in the comment below if you want to check it out. I do a lot of like lists and stuff like that, and I did a list on Death's discography and what I think their best from worst to best albums are. And I just want to make it clear, like I said, I don't think any of their albums are bad. I think every single one of their albums are amazing, and I own every single one of their albums. I love Def. Def is just a great band. Chuck Schuldiner. You could play Scream Bloody Gore and then throw on Sound of Perseverance, and you could just hear the sound change and how they went from a brutal, gory death metal band to this very progressive death metal band. And so Def basically pioneered death metal and progressive death metal. Just legendary band, and I love it. So next up we have another new wave of thrash band, and that is Havoc, and this is Conformicide. Now Conformicide is a very politically driven new wave of thrash album. It is very it's on the right wing side of things, but I don't care. It's freaking amazing. If you had to compare them to an old thrash band, it would be Megadeth. As we know, Megadeth is a very politically driven band. But sorry about that. But Havoc, right here. No matter what side of the spectrum you are politically, I think Havoc is a band that you need to give a listen to. Just freaking amazing band. So yeah, check them out. They have, I believe, I like to say this was their 5th studio album, and I think it is probably their best. They're making a new album as well this year. I'm very excited for that. But yeah, this album right here, man, if you haven't listened to it or even heard of these guys, go check them out. Great thrash band. Another album that I want to show off, it's the 9th album. Once again, this is the album that doesn't need really any introduction. The band doesn't need any introduction. We all know them. Dio, Holy Diver. This is a must-have in anybody's metal collection. In fact, it's a must-listen. If you're watching this video and you have never listened to Dio or listened to Holy Diver, I suggest you stop watching this video right now. Go on YouTube, go on Spotify, and just listen to this whole entire album. What I love about Dio, especially Holy Diver, it's a very accessible album. People who first listen to metal, they hear the growls, they hear the screams. They get turned off by that. Well, they really get turned off by that. I think it's just noise. But then you say, all right, you don't like that? Boom, Dio, Holy Diver. And then, you hear the amazing clean vocals by Ronnie James Dio, and just the amazing musicianship that you hear throughout this whole entire album. Most of the time, people will be like, that's actually pretty good. And you know, it's a gateway to getting people to listen to more metal. You can do the same thing with Iron Maiden. But yeah, Dia Holy Diver, like I said, there's no more for me to say. You know everything about this album. Great stuff. Last but not least, this is a band that I have to say is my third favorite band of all time. They're fairly new. They, I believe, just released their 7th studio album this past year, and that is Revocation. And this says Existence is Futile. It's on the Relapse record label. This band, whew, man, let me just explain to you this band here. All right. First things first, let's start off with the vocals and the guitarist, Dave Davison. Probably the best modern day guitarist that we have. If you put in Revocation, what you're going to hear is you're going to hear a lot of jazz influenced riffs, jazz chords and stuff. But at the same time, you're going to be getting brutality. You're going to be getting a lot of that stuff. To me, this is a progressive metal band. You could argue thrash, you could argue all that, but they're more on the progressive side of things. Very great stuff, man. I mean, if you haven't listened to Revocation, I highly recommend you listen to them. They're another band that has not made a single bad album. You start off with, I believe it's Empire of the Obscene. Then this is their second one, Existence is Futile. Then you go to Chaos of Forms, and then you go to, I believe it's next is their self-titled record, Revocation. They have Deathless, and they have Great Is Our Sin, and then you have their new album that came out this year, The Outer Ones, which to me was the best album of 2018. Revocation, man. This is Existence is Futile. Amazing record. Definitely go check this out, and if you like it, buy it. And yeah, it's amazing. But that's the 10 albums I wanted to show off for you guys today as my introduction into the VC or the metal community. I hope you guys enjoyed. I will be posting more videos shortly of my collection, and then after we get through the collection I have now, I'll start posting like CD updates and stuff, because I do get about 4 to 6 CDs a week. Just, you know, buying stuff off eBay, going to the record store right across the street from my house, or, you know, Amazon, other music websites are all out there that I can find CDs for a bargain for. But yeah, I get about 4 to 6 a week, sometimes more depending on the finds I get and the prices. But yeah, this should be a fairly active channel. I want to give a shout out to Marcy with a C. He's the one who really got me wanting to make a video about my metal collection. I can just remember I was scrolling through YouTube one day and I was like, I wonder if anyone ever posts anything about their metal collection. And I type in metal collection, and there's Mark with his introduction video showing off his collection. In the background you have like shelves of just CDs everywhere. I'm like wow, amazing stuff. And then another guy that I've been watching recently, who's also in the VC, is, I believe his name's Marcy, 6 Strings 9 Lives, I believe his name is. Just saw one of his new CD updates, and man, I saw in the background he has like a beautiful record player, and my cat's about to get into the frame. Okay, that is Tigger. He's a thrash cat. He's starts mosh pits in my room. But so I was saying, those two really influenced me, more so Mark, but Marcy, I've been watching recently as well. Not to say makes amazing content as well. I just need to get into more, find more of you guys who are in the VC, because I know the VC is made of a pretty well-rounded community, and I just, you know, I realized we do threads and stuff like that I also want to get into. But I think as of right now, I'm just going to focus getting through the collection I have now, and then maybe a CD update here and there, and then I'll start joining in on the threads and stuff. But yeah, I just appreciate you guys watching and tuning in. If you got this far, just leave a comment below. Like, I like to chat, I like to be interactive and stuff, and talk about metal. Thank you guys for watching. I'm out.